Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast. My name is Rory Paquette. I am, as always, your very grateful coach or host, not coach, host. Goodness, it's been a long day. Coaching calls all day, and now I'm actually on here interviewing this magnificent gentleman who has all kinds of stuff to share with you guys. So, folks, yeah, I just cannot thank you enough for everything you've done. You have stepped up so much since we made the shift to 5 days. It's been amazing. The liking, the sharing, the subscribing, the DMs, it's been wonderful. If you're not out there doing what you're doing, I don't get to sit over here in this seat and do what I'm doing. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you, for some reason, have not reached out yet, please do not hesitate, folks. At Power of Man Podcast on Instagram, best way to reach us. I know there's 100 other ways, but that's the quickest and the fastest. Shoot me a DM there and we will chat. And I'm the guy who returns all the DMs. It's not some employee or bot or anything else. It's all me. It's all me. So, before we get going, you folks all know what time it is. We got to pay some bills. So, let me take a sip of my preferred beverage.
Vodka.
Boy, that'd be different. All right, folks. You know what it is. That's right. It's Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Go check them out. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful, just like my wife. They brew a mean bean. It's an absolutely fantastic cup of Joe. They do all the right things for all the right reasons, and they support veterans, which you guys all know is incredibly important to us here at Power Man. We have a huge veteran audience. Respect to every one of you folks, and that's one of the reasons why we support them. Go check them out at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Freedom Hill Coffee, folks. Tell them Power of Man sent you. Let me get another sip of my hot beverage. Man, we are rocking and rolling. I will be drinking that throughout the episode, so you guys will be hearing all that deliciousness going down. It's going to be fantastic. All right, we have a great, great guest with us today. Um, I could tell you all the different things that he's done, but I'm not sure I would do him justice. So I'm going to let him tell you a lot of these things. What I am going to tell you is that he's here to serve. All right, this man is a philanthropist. He's here to give back. He's a former Navy vet and a man of faith. And folks, I'd like you to join me in welcoming Marcus Norman to our podcast. Marcus, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me to your incredible podcast show.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Marcus, I tell you what, I know you've got a whole lot to share today and a lot of different avenues to go down. Just start off by telling our audience, who is Marcus Norman? What are you about? And what brings you here today, man?
Uh, who is Marcus Norman? That's a great question. Marcus Norman, I like to in this phase of my life. I'm 37 years old. I hail all the way from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I now reside in the Hampton Roads, Virginia market. And who Marcus is today is I like to consider myself working towards philanthropy and giving back and serving my community. And I've started numerous ventures, done numerous things, including serving our United States Navy. So, for our veterans out in the audience, we just had Memorial Day. Thank you for your service and your support. We appreciate you. We love you. Um, I myself, in this phase of my life, I've started numerous things, numerous businesses, real estate investing, cannabis dispensary owner, real estate owner, ATM business operator, and now I my partner and I just bought a mental health practice franchise. So if you notice a trend, all these avenues, all these businesses are service-based businesses, right? Providing affordable housing and real estate, cannabis, the medicinal side, not the crazy fun-loving side. So providing products that help people deal with all the crazy things that we're ailing us today, especially veterans, right? Disabled veterans, anxiety, stress, sleep deprivation, arthritis, osteoporosis, insomnia. All those things are cannabis products help people with. So, and now the mental health space. So all these things, all these avenues are to help and give back our community and serve others. And so that's why I like to think of myself in this phase of my life as a giver, and I'm learning how to serve.
That's awesome. That's interesting. Now you unpacked a whole lot there. The when you mention these things, real estate investing, and you had life insurance down here, ATM investing, CBD vending machines, I think was on here. These are all things that you own and operate, that you like refill. I mean, are these, or are you selling the opportunity to get into these? Tell me a little bit more about the opportunity itself and what it consists of.
Sure, the cannabis vending machines are the dispensaries I was talking about. So these are not things I sell. These are this company called Child 420. Several years ago, I've been watching them for several years, and they were a startup looking for capital and looking for investors to invest in their business and take things off. And so I was already in the real estate space and I was already in the ATM space. So ATMs and vending machines are similar. And so it wasn't too far off from what I already knew and understood. And that's one of the characteristics that leads me today is if I invest my capital, I need to understand how I make money.
Gotcha.
And so I understood vending and I understood the operations and it seemed simple enough. And I was just sitting on a pile of cash, not knowing what to invest in next. And so I got into, I found this company. They were looking for startup capitals. I looked at the prospectus, the disclosures that they have to post publicly whenever you're seeking outside capital from investors. And I read through it and I liked the CEO. I liked the staff and the team that he had built at the time and believed in it. I believed cannabis was the future. And so I invested a small amount. And then as the company grew and expanded and did the right things and won some major contracts, I invested a lot more. And part of the deal was you invest in the company, so you gain shares in the company. But the unique thing that most, when you invest in a startup that you don't often get, is when you invested a certain amount, you got a vending machine of your own to operate, and all the profits and all the proceeds go you earn back. And that's something unique in investing in startups is you typically don't see your money for quite some time. Um, these allow you to gain start earning your money back while still maintaining your equity shares in the business. And so it presented a unique opportunity for me to become a shareholder in this company, but also start earning my money back. And so that's what I did, and that's I've been with them going on 7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I got into this and grew into three different locations with it.
Interesting. You refer to yourself as the uncommon passive income entrepreneur. So, for folks who don't really understand what passive income is, maybe give them an idea of what you mean when you say passive income.
When I think of passive income, what triggers for me is the Warren Buffett mindset is, Warren Buffett, if you read about him to any length, in the earlier phases of his life, in the beginning phase of his life, he invested in pinball machines at a very young age. And and that's kind of the first initiation to passive income. And he and his family, his father, helped him maintain these pinball machines throughout the community and township that they lived in at a very young age. And he would go and empty these pinball machines and empty the coins and maintain them and fix them and work on them. And out of that was born the framework of making money while you sleep. And so passive income in conjunction with the ATM business is I literally will be sleeping and I'll get a text alert in the middle of the night from one of my ATM locations in my portfolio saying, "Hey, I'm running low on money," which means I'm making money while I slept. And so passive income is to me making money outside of your physical, outside of the 9 to 5, right? Where everybody has the same finite hours in a day, but how do you leverage that and how do you multiply yourself in order to make multiple streams of income outside of you? So whether you're working or not working, my ATMs make money um, in spite of me, not despite of me. So they're making money in addition to whatever I'm doing at the time. And so that's what kind of broad stroke what it means to me.
Okay. No, that's wonderful. I think everybody would love to have that situation. Um, understand how the vending machines work in terms of, passive income because they're just selling around the clock. People walk up, they put their money in whenever they happen to be there. That's good. Maybe tell us about how real estate investing, for instance, for you is passive income.
Real estate investing for me is passive income because it allows me to own something tangible and I can put in place and I have put in place property management. Because in the beginning phase I was doing it all myself so I could learn so I could learn how things go and file an eviction and deal with tenants and realize the heart behind certain tenants and do the applications and meet people face to face. And so I did that for several years up until um, and then I hired a property management company. And that property management company allowed me to step back and let them handle the day-to-day operations of the business while I could again focus on other things and focus on higher level things and things that were better suited for my skill set as I'm growing, as I'm learning, as I'm reading. And so it has become a passive source for me because the property manager does the groundwork, and then I simply check in from time to time. And my property manager and I have the conversations. We have the conversations from time to time and just see how things are going. But I'm not focused as I was in the beginning, and it allows me the space to again focus on other things. Still being abreast because I think with any ownership, when you own something, you want to stay abreast of things, you want to be involved, you want to be engaged, you want to stay tuned, but you don't want to take both hands off the steering wheel. And so that's how it's passive for me, because I don't have to physically be there in order for the operations to run. To kind of put it in perspective, I caught COVID and I was hospitalized for a month and a half. I was sick
Oh, wow.
and I was in the hospital for a month and a half. Almost didn't make it. Almost wasn't here. And I survived because I'm still here. And but during that time, my property manager was handling the day-to-day operations and phone calls while I was recovering and taking care of myself. So it let me know that I was on the right path and I had set certain things up in the right way, at least the real estate side, so that I could take care of myself and focus on me while I recovered. So that's what,
Hmm.
passive income and me, what it means to me.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that about COVID, but I'm glad that you made it through, man. That was a rough time back then, for
It,
sure.
w- it was.
But blessing that you
Thank you.
had the opportunity to have these in place when that was going on.
It was an absolute blessing. And it again, it put a lot of things in perspective for me. And just, it gave me a heart to realize that, um, it's not all about you. You know, it's not all about me. It's not about, and I had a definitely different sense of life when I got out of the hospital. I had a different mindset, and I realized, hey, it's I guess to sum it up, for me, it was a quote that I had heard. If you died today, what would they write on your headstone? And if you're not happy with that, what you think your friends, your family, your loved ones would write on that headstone, then change today and do better today. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't put it off to next week. Don't put it off to the new year. Don't put it off to Christmas. Change today if you're not happy with what you think people would write about you.
Hmm.
So that's how I live now.
That's great advice. That
Thank you.
that goes towards, what you were saying earlier about how you want to give back and being more of a philanthropist at this point, trying to help others and that kind of thing. Was it the health scare that kind of changed your viewpoint then, or were you already heading that direction, prior to that, or was it really just that earth shaking when that happened?
I think I was on the fence. I think I've always been on the fence. I grew up in a very religious household, right? So grandma was a Jehovah Witness, grandpa was a Baptist, dad was a Christian, and mom was a evangelical Christian over here. And so I was brought around a lot of church. And so I think I was churched out. I think I was burnt out. And so I think I've always toted the line, but never. I think sometimes your parents and everybody around you tries to do their best and give you insight to their best, right? But life is the best teacher. And when I had that COVID, I had numerous scares in my life. And I think those resets regrounded me. And it reestablished my foundation and my mindset and my beliefs because I think I was straying off the beaten path that I was put on this earth to do.
Hmm.
And so when I had the COVID scare, and I've had two other scares in my life, um, it 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 set me back. It set me on this path of service. How can I be of service? How can I give? How can I help? What the most two important days of a person's life, of a man's life, since it's the man's podcast. The two most important days of a man's life is the day he was born and the day he figures out why. And so when you figure those two things out, you become unstoppable.
Nice. This is a man's podcast, brother. That's how we roll here. So I appreciate it. You go ahead and talk that way all you want. That's beautiful. Yeah, no, I could not agree with you more on that. Um, you proclaimed yourself a man of faith. Did that start during COVID? Did that come back to you during COVID? Because I mean, I totally get being, and I love your phrase, churched out. Oh, after the upbringing you had, I mean, that combination you just read off, that's an awful lot of requirements on a daily basis to maintain all of those, scorecards you had going in that household. So, I'm just curious, because I know being churched out, you pull away a little bit usually. Was that what happened? Did it come back when you had the health scares, or, was it something else that brought faith back in your life?
So the other scare that great question. The other scare that set me back and let me know who's in control of all of this
Hmm.
is when I got out of the Navy in 2014, I suffered like what most veterans suffer from, which is trying to find a job, right? And
Right.
enter the job in the job market and the workforce. And I was having a very difficult time. I was trying to initiate my benefits. I was trying to find employment. All the while, I had bought a house. So I was trying to pay bills, keep bills going, and I was maxing out credit cards. I was borrowing money. I was taking cash advances, right, left, and to the middle. And it was a lot. And I was on the verge of going home and moving back to the US Virgin Islands to the point where I literally called my dad and I had said, Dad, everything is falling apart. I can't find gainful employment that would pay me compensatory to what I was making in the U.S. Navy, which is no surprise, right? It's hard to be at a high level in the military, high ranking level, and then come out and find gainful employment at the same level.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
I was having a difficult time there. And all the bills were racking up, all the finances were racking up, everything was racking up. And I was just like, Dad, can I come home? And my father said, you can always come home. There'll always be a place for you. But if you can find a way and if you can make a way, don't come home because there's nothing here for you. And so
Wow.
you feel the love in that statement, right? But what he meant was on my island, there's nothing for me to do there. There's nothing left on the island for me to come home to and create impact, right? There's one hospital on the island. There's one major grocery store. There's political corruption all over the place. And it's a fading island. So
Oh,
when he said there's nothing to come back home to, there really is nothing to come back home to. But you're always welcome to come home and we'll love you back to health. But if I went home, I would die because it's nothing there. And so literally I'm fighting for a year and a half. I'm fighting, jumping from job to job, working two, three, four jobs just to maintain overhead, keep bills going. I'm renting out rooms in my house to create additional income. Everything I could do. And I remember I was getting in my car and I was just tired. It was another day and I was just burnt out, exhausted, been up for all night. Um, and I got a text message and it said your VA claim had processed. And so I'm sitting in my car and I said, I'm sitting in my car. I hadn't moved. I'm burnt out, whatever. And I said, let me check my bank account. Um, Again, this is a year and a half after I got out the military. I checked my bank account, and in my bank account was a direct deposit of $18,000. And, and it was my VA claim that I had initiated a year and a half ago for disability compensation. It had finally processed after a
Uh,
year and a half of waiting. That I immediately broke down in my car. And I knew at that point who was in control. After fighting and fighting and applying and going from dead end job to dead end job to dead end job, and just relief came, and I was completely overwhelmed. And fellas, if you're watching this, don't it's not unmanly to cry. I broke down. And you can imagine, right? A year of fighting,
yeah,
a year and a half of fighting, that's hard. So that was the that's what's pushed me back and let me know who's back in control and who I need to reinitiate and reinvigorate my life works to.
nice. Okay. So that happens, and then how do you get into all of these passive income models? Is that something that just comes to you? Is that something that you say, hey, I can't find a job. I'm not gonna go work a 9 to 5 anymore. I mean, uh, are you called to do this in some fashion? How do you get into this passive income model?
The passive income model. So the real estate was birthed out of network marketing. I joined a network marketing
Oh,
company. I'm no longer with that organization.
okay.
And but one of the things the network marketing company did is their leaders always would tell you and make recommendations on various books. So I checked out Robert Kiyosaki,
Hmm.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's what led me down the path to the rental property and renting out rooms and real estate. The ATM business was birthed because I had maxed out all the real estate that I could gain at the time, and I was sitting on capital and I needed something to do with that money. And so I took that money and I said, what can I do with this sum of money? What can I do with this lump sum of money? And Google literally came back and said, you can take it and start an ATM business. 13 ATMs later, here I am. And so that's how real estate started. That's how ATM business started. And then the cannabis vending machine business was birthed because, again, I found myself looking for what's next, looking for other avenue. Because as I'm reading all these books on entrepreneurship and passive investing, they're talking about diversification. So I'm looking to diversify my money. And I hopped on to my brother was telling me about this website that connects you with startups. It's not WeFunder, but this website that is Kevin O'Leary is like the spokesperson for. And the website is just startups that are looking for capital investors. And that's how on one of the platforms was the Child 420 cannabis dispensary business that I stumbled upon. And so that's how the passive income has been birthed and keeps being birthed. And then now I'm in the mental health space. I now co-own a mental health franchise with my partner, and her and I bought this business December of last year. And that came about because I have my own podcast, like your great podcast. And I interviewed a franchise broker on my show.
Uh,
And the broker, he's the number one top rated broker in the United States, and he finds you franchises in your local market that are doing, 3x, 4x, 10x. And so that's how I stumbled in. So each avenue has been a learning and just me walking my path and paying attention, not just walking blindly, but paying attention to what's going on around me and my surroundings and being observant and being wise like Solomon. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer. I apologize.
you don't need to apologize. That was a great answer. Loved it. That do you want to talk more about the mental health business? I mean, it's okay if you don't. Maybe it's not ready to be released, but do you want to talk more about that? Maybe tell us specifically what it's about, or
No,
what you're into.
absolutely no. I'm absolutely. We have launched January this year. So the mental health practice is called Lifology Counseling Hampton Roads. And so it's it's a smaller portion of a big franchise, which is Lifology Counseling. And so we are servicing the entire Virginia market. And what we like to say is we are providing that top tier level of professional who's serving you with your mental health needs. The human condition, we are suffering from the most ADHD, just mental problems ever imaginable. The bipolarism, PTSD for our veterans, and my experience in the mental health space when I sought a therapist for myself in this area, it was just terrible. I mean, therapists not showing up on time. Therapists won't turn their camera on. Just having that disconnect, that non-personal touch. They're I'm showing up to therapy in a professional way, and they're out grocery shopping, or they're having therapy services, and they're sharing a car with someone else while I'm supposed to share my business, what's going on with me. So it was just a hugely underserved community. And
Uh,
not just myself, I was hearing this from other people who were terrified to seek therapy because it was just a continuous lack of professionalism in the space here in Virginia.
huh.
And so I said with my partner, let's do it better. Let's do it right. And to give you an example, we've interviewed at least 60 applicants to come work for us, 60 professional therapists. We've only hired six
Wow.
because they all are just not it. They're not the Dave Ramsey servant, mind of a teacher, heart of a teacher,
Yeah.
right? They lack what we're looking for. And so we interviewed a lot of therapists looking to make money, but I don't want you here to just make money. I want you to help people and really help people and really enjoy helping people and be a service to people, not just, okay, uh, all right, we're done. Have a nice day and go about your way. That's not it. That's not it. And so we only hire the best in this area. And because you, me, us, we all need the best in this area. So that's what we do.
So is this a situation where the therapist is coming to work for you, or is this a situation where it's you're matching up like people who need therapy with qualified therapists, and you're the sort of, broker in the middle?
Correct. In a sense, in a sense. So the therapists work for our practice. So
Hmm.
they're posted on our website. We compensate them and we pay for all the software, the marketing, the advertising, the EHR system that secures your private PII information. We pay for all of that. And the therapist works for us, and the client seeks out a therapist and they find us, and then we have our therapist on our website that you can book an appointment with, or you can call in and we'll schedule you with one of our therapists. So it's not a matching service like a staffing agency where a staffing agency may have a roster of 100 people. They work with Lifology Counseling Hampton Roads. And so, and we've done extremely well. We've grown incredibly month after month since opening, since launching in January of this year. And so that's it's a little bit more finite than like a staffing or a matching service.
Yeah.
It's only our six therapists that you can select from, but they're the best.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're vetting the living daylights out of them if you're, 60 came in and six made it across the finish line. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. Nothing to the extent of Dave Ramsey. I think Dave Ramsey's process is, I think he has you go through like a 12-step interviewing process. We're not there yet, but
Hmm.
we try to definitely um if we hire incorrectly, we terminate pretty quickly. And we try and lock the door behind that person so we never make that mistake again.
Wow. Okay. Good deal. Now you're confined to Virginia. Is that because that's where you want to serve, or is it a licensing thing and you have to do something else to get out of your state?
Absolutely. That great question. So our therapists are licensed in Virginia. And so, in order to serve in other states, we have to either be grandfathered in and have our license carried over in other states, or find professionals in other states who are already licensed and expand the practice that way as well.
Interesting. Now you're not a therapist yourself per se, but owning the business, does the business have to have some sort of license?
Correct. So the individual practice has its own. Great question. The individual practice has its license, has a licensure, and then the practitioners have their own independent licensures that are under the group practice. And so they all work and licensed in the state of Virginia. So I can't. So in order for me to serve in a different state, I have to either have practitioners in that state, and I have to have an associated group practice license in that state as well. And so that practitioner can work under me, because that's why I compensate them, because that's how insurance works. I'm billing under the group practice, and the practitioner is the one that performed the procedure if we're talking like medical billing.
Excellent. That was another question I was going to ask you is if you took insurance of some kind, but it sounds like you do.
We do. So we accept most insurances. We're working on gaining some more. That being said, it is a a little bit of political scare right now, because the bulk of our clients here in Virginia are Medicaid. So going through the overhaul that just got passed and is going through Congress right now. But just, yeah, we do accept insurances, most insurances.
That's great. All right. So, what made you want to start serving the mental health community after doing, real estate and these other things? Was it just a really good business opportunity? Was it something that hit home with you in that way?
Both. The numbers looked good, and then again, having those negative experiences,
Right.
compounding just from hearing other people go through it, and then having my own personal experience with it, I said, "This is where we need to be," and it just kind of aligned. My partner is a therapist,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
so she is a therapist, and just seeing how much impact she was doing in her own private practice, and then my years of business experience, when we combined it blended very well, and we were
Nice.
able to do more, right, and serve more. And so a lot of the individual practitioners here in Virginia, they're independent. A lot of them are independent, which is why they operate so inefficiently, which is why they operate the way they do, when they just have this haphazard kind of, I'll see the client when I'm ready. You know,
Mhm.
I'll give you an example. I was going to counseling. I reached out to a counselor on one of the bigger platforms like BetterHelp, and seemingly booked the appointment. My first day of therapy, the counselor starts the conversation by saying, I don't know how you got here. I don't know what you're doing on my calendar, but I stopped seeing clients like you a long time ago. But since you're here, I'll just continue the session anyway. That's her first conversation. That's what she
Oh,
initially
my.
says. Now, forgive me for interrupting your day. I don't know how I got on your calendar anyway, but you can imagine how that feels to someone who's dealing with post-traumatic stress, grief, you know, abandonment issues. Can you imagine again? And then to start off a conversation that way is completely ridiculous.
That's just crazy. I would have just absolutely hung right up right then. I mean, did you sit through the meeting? I'm just curious.
I sat through the meeting because I ignored it and I said, "This is about me. I need help." But after that, I realized this person can't help me, and I think I did one more session and then it was over because she was not there to serve me. She was there, and but she showed that she didn't want to be there. Right? That's
Yeah,
that. And like you said, I'm sure most people in your audience would say, okay, I don't need to be here and be gone, right? But I try to think of it like I'm here for me. I need to get something, right?
right,
It's if I need this life-saving medication, I have to ignore all the obstacles because I still need this medication,
right.
right? So that's the way I took it. I still need this thing, but you're unwilling to give it to me. So I need to. So by the second session, I ended
Goodness. I don't blame you. I would never have come back for the second one. You have more patience than I do.
it.
But I mean, that's great. Um, okay, so do you still have these other offshoot businesses, or have you sold some of those or liquidated some of those to get into the mental health space? I'm just curious. Or are you still holding on to all the stuff that you started before?
Great question. So I've sold some real estate to come up with the cash to buy into the franchise. I still have some real estate, but not as much. And I still have the ATM business and I still have the dispensaries businesses. So yeah, I still have all of them essentially.
Wow. And so then you effectively have other people running all of these things as managers or something else, so that you really are just the financial partner behind it.
So the real estate, yes. The ATMs are still me
Hmm. Oh,
because
okay.
they're not labor intensive. In the beginning, they were, right? In the beginning, the ATMs were very hands-on because imagine I'm cycling, $500 in an ATM. That I'm gonna be visiting that ATM quite frequently, right? Now I've been doing it since 2006. No, since 2016, forgive me. So I've been doing it since 2016. So you can imagine I have, amassed a bigger pool of money to be recycled through that ATM. And so I don't have to visit as often as I used to in the beginning.
Right.
So that business runs itself, and that's still all me. And then the cannabis dispensary vending machines are is still all me. I don't have the need to hire someone to manage it or oversee it or fill it for me yet because it's not intrusive and it's not intensive and it's not annoying me yet. I guess.
I mean, you'd have to have an immense amount of trust in someone you hired to put them in charge of an ATM, which is nothing but money, or
Yes.
your dispensaries, which is money and one of the most sought after products on the marketplace. That's worth a lot of money. So I mean, that's an awful hard thing to say. Hey Jim, come on in. Welcome to the company. Go handle all this, and I'll see you at 5.
Right. And my mentor in the space, I asked him because he does it. He has hundreds of ATMs. He's been doing it far longer than me to fill your ATMs. And he said, you can have insurance on the cash. You can have insurance on the money. So if they steal it, you can file a claim. But who wants to deal with insurance, right? And then, he said, well, right. And so he said the individual that you hire can use their cash. Well, who has 1,000? The average American, most Americans don't have their deductible, right? They don't have
Right,
their $500 deductible. And I'm telling this individual, hey, you're going to come work for me. You're going to fill these ATMs with your money and it'll come back to you. And so, and they're telling me, well, all I have is $200. That's not going to work. And
right,
so you're right. It points me back to, well, how am I going to hand this person, $5,000 and expect them to come back tomorrow, right? And
right.
hope that they did what I hired them to do. So that's the stalemate, and that's the point I had to recognize because I was looking to hire, and I found one really great guy. But the other surprising thing is I had a lot of women inquire for the position when I posted the ad, which was shocking to me. I thought more men would be up for it,
Hmm.
and I got way more women that was open to it. And I said, "This is not like you want to go into this bar and put cash in his ATM. Do you understand this is a bar. This is a kind of a rough neighborhood, and women were down. The men I had very few men, surprisingly.
Wow. Hmm. That is interesting. So the women were brave enough. No,
Out
they
there and
didn't.
you're watching this,
What's
yeah,
that?
men if you're
Yeah.
watching this, find an ATM operator because they need cash loaders. So that's that's the position. It's called a cash loader.
Cash
Um,
loader.
yes, sir.
Okay. N- Notes taken. Um, you've mentioned a couple times that you had mentors. Is that where you learned most of these passive income businesses from, or individual mentors?
I wouldn't say I learned about it from my mentors. I use my mentors as sounding boards,
Okay.
what I'm thinking. My mentors are guides. So they weren't the people to initially ignite the passion and the desire and the thinking in me. They weren't that. My mentors are for continuous guidance and oversight to make sure that what I want to do or what I'm thinking about doing is the best way, and because I may miss the blind spots. And that's what people miss. People try and skip over mentors or not even find mentors because they don't want to pay them. And
Yeah.
that's a huge mistake because you want to try, because sometimes you could cost you way more than what the mentor would have cost you.
Hmm.
And so I use my mentors as guides, but they weren't the ones to plant the initial seed in me.
Interesting. Okay. All right. The
Did that,
go ahead. The ideas for all this. I'm curious. Where all the different ideas came from on this stuff.
it came from Google search. It came from changing your circle, right? And I'm sure you and your audience have heard this. If you're the if you need to change your circle. If you're the smartest person in your group of friends, you need better friends. Right? I'm an avid, and ever since the multi-level marketing, I have been buying books. And because of my podcasts, where people are now seeking me out and guests are speaking on the different topics. So to be a guest on my show, you have to bring something unique.
Okay.
So my podcast, I've interviewed experts on the ATM business. I told you I've interviewed several gentlemen about being a broker and buying a franchise and what questions to ask when buying a franchise. These are the things that I've interviewed someone. So you've heard of precious metals when investing, correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yep. So precious metals, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and precious metals is an investment in a stock that you can buy.
Okay.
Well, I interviewed someone who has a company that helps you invest in strategic metals, right? Strategic metals are the metals that are not they're not of value next week or next year. They're not gold, platinum, silver. Strategic metals are the metals in your smartphone, the microchip. That's a metal, right? The solar panel that goes on your Tesla, that's a metal. That's a strategic metal that is in demand today, not next week. And that's not connected to how I feel the US dollar. That's a strategic metal that is in demand right now because, especially during COVID-19 vehicles, because they had no microchips to put in the new vehicles. So strategic metals, this gentleman allows you to invest in strategic metals that are in demand and gaining his clientele double-digit returns today. And so that's the kind of guests that I interview on my podcast. I've interviewed grant writers, right, to talk about grant writing for your business. and different organizations that can rent the write the grant for you so you can get funding for your business. And those are the things that help you and me make more money and thrive and survive. And that's how I've come across even more passive income streams because these people are out there. The information is out there. And so I connect with these people and I listen. Did that help answer your question?
I believe it did. Yeah. Yeah. You froze for 1 second, but you came right
So,
back. Sorry about
sorry about
that. No, for sure. I was curious as to like where it all was coming from. So, that's very, very interesting. So, I mean, anybody can go learn this stuff if they have the desire, it sounds like.
Absolutely. If they have the desire, check out your podcast, check out my podcast because it's free. It costs you nothing,
Right?
right? To go on my podcast and find the gentleman I interviewed on Strategic Metals. It costs you nothing to go on YouTube and listen to the interview that I did with the gentleman, my mentor, who owns 100 ATMs and start your own ATM business, right? That costs you nothing. It's absolutely free. And that's what your audience, my audience, that's what people need in order to survive and thrive and learn about true passive income, right? I interviewed a gentleman who tells you writing a book is not passive income. It's and it's not gonna make you any money. It's gonna make you hardly any money, right? But that's the stuff we need. Accessory dwelling units, right? How to rent out your shed and turn it in and make money off of it. That's the type of interviews. That's what you and I need. That's the passive income streams and the conversations that we need. I don't care what Kim Kardashian is doing. I don't care what this celebrity over here is doing or what Will Smith slapped who or this person did. Like none of that helps us, right? But that's what goes viral. But your podcast, my podcast, is where the information is at. But people won't they won't listen because I'm not twerking twerking on social media for likes and hearts and follows, right?
Sure.
That's the problem.
Right. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to see me twerking. That
Me either.
that's a bad look, man.
Both of us. Both
No.
I completely agree. I completely agree.
So did no, I know at one point in your story you got your money in from the VA. Was that what gave you the capital to start working on this?
The money coming in gave me most of that capital was used to pay off all the debt.
Right. Yeah.
All the debt I had amassed and pay off all the debt I had accrued. That's where the bulk of that capital was. And I had some left over, but again, I was already doing the real estate to and renting out rooms in my house. I was house hacking
Mm,
already to create income while I job hunt and keep my mortgage afloat for a year and a half. So that was already doing its thing. And so, but I had amassed a bunch of debt and borrowed a whole bunch of money. And so most of that money went to getting me caught up on bills. What was left over was what I used to venture into the ATM space. And so my ATMs, I own a portfolio of about 13 ATMs. And those ATMs, all of them, I own cash. None of them are borrowed. None of them, the Dave Ramsey method, right? No
yeah.
debt.
No debt.
So all 13 ATMs are cash, and the money that circulates through them is cash.
Yeah.
So all of it was making profit day one of install to the location.
Wow.
So that
Okay.
I hope that answered that question. Most of it went to paying off bills. So, and I was already doing the real estate. The real estate, once I got settled and got my credit score fixed, that took an additional year because I had to repair all of that.
Hmm.
Then I ventured off and bought more real estate with the additional income from my job. I got a decent job finally after 2 years, right? And then I had some leftover money And then I was able to buy more real estate after 2 years of fighting.
Okay, so you did it the hard way. I mean, you saved as you went along to put money together to get into the investing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think at one point I worked like 4 jobs. I was a security guard. I was door dashing and Lyft and Ubering.
Wow.
I worked at Pizza Hut and I worked at the VA hospital as a employee. I had like 4 or 5 jobs at one point, just saving cash, saving
Wow.
money to invest. And I worked. I didn't borrow anything else. I didn't borrow. I was terrified, as you can imagine. I was terrified to borrow more money. And so I'm gonna do this cash. I'm gonna do this the Dave Ramsey way. So I got 3, 4 jobs, and it all sucked. It wasn't pretty. I was the security guard. I mean, I was a security guard for a shopping center, and I had no gun, no pepper spray, nothing. If something went down, my job was to call the actual authorities. Right? But people saw me, and they would have issues. People stealing from the liquor store, and they would call me, and I'm supposed to what? I'm not. I can't touch this person, and I'm unarmed. And he's bigger than me. I'm not putting asking him to leave, but I did it to make extra money.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Is there a certain amount that, and I know that's tough to say because every opportunity is different, but is there maybe a ballpark where you want to tell guys, hey, if you can save X amount, you can start looking around at these things?
Uh, so it's hard. It depends on what you want to do and
Sure.
what your risk tolerance is, right? For me, the ATMs, if you're looking at ATM investing, again, check out my YouTube channel for the numbers. But for an ATM, depending on the type of ATM you get, it can range from $2,500 to $4,500. That's just to purchase the ATM cash. And then you have to think, you have to put money in the ATM. You have to prime the pump, so to speak, to get the ATM to start making you money. So on top, if you and so I know what you're gonna find is a lot of professionals out there that are saying, "Oh, I could get you an ATM for $800." You get what you buy, right? You get your money's worth, right? I've seen it. I did my research, and so when you get the $800 ATM, it may not be up to code. So the new thing on the block is a chip reader. There's a lot of people selling these old ATMs for $500, $400, $800, and they've not been upgraded with the new chip reader. And so you can get yourself into some legal trouble if you buy these ATMs really cheap and now it's not compliant. And then you can face lawsuits, you can get fees, you can get regulatory fees hit back to you for something that you skipped out on. So don't go
Man,
cheap, spend the money. Save the money and spend the money. Right? All
got
my
it.
like I said, from the beginning, I only bought new machines. I never bought used. So that's a ballpark
Yeah.
figure. So 25 to
Very cool.
4,500 to get started and then cash to fill the machine. And then you got
Okay.
to find a location.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. Well, I got to know. How do you go about finding a location? What's in it for the person who's, giving you the space?
Absolutely. So there's numerous things in it for the person giving me the space. So one, I do profit sharing with the business, right? And if the business even wants it, because some locations don't even want the profit sharing from the fee that you collect from the ATM. And so, but you can offer them that as an incentive. Say, hey, I want to split some of the money with you from the fee that this ATM collects per transaction. And I can set that up direct deposit and it'll go into the business owner's direct deposit bank account, whatever account they elect. And so I give them some profit sharing. But the bigger thing is they benefit from the cash, right? Because they're no longer paying those merchant credit card or debit card processing fees, right? And so I have apartment complexes, I have barbershops, I have nail salons that love the ATM because they have less use for the credit card processing, right? Because the owner has to eat that cost,
Right.
right? And a lot of businesses can't pass that cost or that expense over to the consumer. They try to, but to me, that's just bad business, right? And
Interesting.
so the ATM allows them to minimize their credit card processing and utilize the ATM, and now they get a percentage of the fee that is collected. On top of that, they're getting cash money, cash in their business. So the $200 that customer withdrew is $200 they're going to spend in your business. So that's the second benefit. There's the third benefit of some of these ATMs can be retrofitted to put like billboards on top of them, so it can be advertising for them.
Ah,
And then my ATMs can also be retrofitted and programmed and updated with new software to actually buy and sell Bitcoin. And so that creates another revenue stream. And the ATM then advertises itself as a Bitcoin dispensary, sort of. That's not the right word or not the right terminology, but it's a Bitcoin cash exchange. And so
wow.
now it gets listed on the Bitcoin exchange. And now people who are looking to buy Bitcoin or sell their Bitcoin can now come to and find my ATM in your business. And now you just got a potential new customer because they're looking around and they're seeing, oh, well, I do need to get a pedicure. So now they just withdrew, they sold however many thousands of dollars of Bitcoin. Now they have cash dispensed from the ATM. They may spend it in your business. So it's numerous advantages to having an ATM. Even in this day and age, it's numerous advantages to having an ATM in your place of business.
Wow. All right.
I hope
It,
that I hope that helped.
no, you've given a ton of information. My curiosity is just flying out of my head because, I mean, I love opportunities like this for, for men, and I love kind of searching them out and talking about them to people, and but hearing about stuff that's actually working for a real person, you know, and not some ad in a magazine or something that comes across your Facebook ad, oh, hey, make $10,000 next week, type of thing that nobody wants to wants to
None
click
of
on.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean those are very interesting to me, and so I love the process and the thought that goes into it, and it sounds like you're very diversified. So if any one of these things slowed down, it doesn't seem like that's going to hit you too hard.
Yeah. So I think there was a boom during COVID, but I love the ATM business and I can't get enough of it. One day I'll have to give it up, obviously, right? One day. Um, and but I've been learning, I've been having so much fun with it. And I see legacy with the ATM, right? Imagine your son, your daughter. Let's say you had a newborn and you could gift them as early as they have a social security number, as soon as you can open a bank account for them, your son or daughter is born, and then you can plant an ATM in a business and direct deposit the fee into your son or daughter's newborn's checking account or savings account. You have just created legacy for that child, right? Because that ATM is going to produce cash. And for 18 years, as long as you keep that ATM moving and trucking along, it's going to produce that money. It's going to produce that cash for you. And so now you've placed the ATM, you've linked it to your son or daughter's checking account. And now for 18 years until they're ready to go off to college. And now you can turn over this gift. Son, daughter, I have held this for you. I have paid homage to you and I have honored you and I have worked hard and I've maintained this for you. Here's a checking account with a sum of money in it. I am now passing it on to you. But on top of that, I can now give my son or give my daughter the vehicle that made it happen. And now I can say, hey, if you're going to school locally, here's the ATM that did it. And now you can maintain this ATM and I can teach you how to operate it, maintain it, fill it up, and service it. And now you can put your own self through college and you don't have to work. I've empowered you, right? I've given you a lump sum of cash, but I've also empowered you and gave you the vehicle that did it. And so that's why I still do this, right?
Nice.
Because that's powerful to me. That's a big head start that most kids don't get.
Yeah.
And did I give you a job or did I give you legacy. How hard is that? Fill this ATM with cash, and it's going to make you money every single day.
It's a
And
pretty
that
good deal.
money you can use for expenses, you can pay for your books, you can pay for your dorm room, you can pay for everything from this ATM. Just maintain this ATM right here. And I did that 18 years ago. That's powerful.
Yeah, it is.
That's a huge start. And it cost me nothing to do it.
How did it cost you nothing?
As a parent, it cost
Oh,
me
as a
not
parent, I see.
right as a parent, right? How many parents have to go work a nine? They got to put in extra hours at the job.
Right.
I got to go work overtime. I got to go work weekends. I got to miss birthdays. I got to miss
Yeah,
holidays. I got to miss
absolutely.
all the stuff where I could just start as soon as you were born and it's taken care of. And I can still be there for your birthday. I can still be there for Christmas. And I don't have to kill myself at the 9 to 5. I hate that for men. I hate that men traditionally have become this kind of this apparition in the house. Well, I have a dad, but he's at work all the time.
Right.
Right. I see him. I know I have a dad because I see the pictures. I see him over the fireplace and I hear him from time to time when he's either coming in late from work at night or he's leaving early in the morning before I go to school. I hate that for fathers. And so this vehicle, that's why I said it costs you nothing. It doesn't cost me any extra time other than initially setting it up.
Yeah.
And I gain so much more on the back end. A father can gain so much more control over his children's legacy and his family's legacy by just doing something once. So that's what I meant.
Hmm. That's all. I never would have connected that to legacy like that. And it makes total sense now that you have. I'm going, well, yeah. Why wouldn't anybody want to do something like this? That makes total sense. That's great. I hope a lot of the fathers are hearing this, because we all have that thought. Okay, I gotta maybe get them a life insurance policy, or I've gotta, figure out how to, put some money away in, what was it, a 501
Yep.
savings plan, right? Something like that for college, right? So we all have those thoughts, but to think here's a profitable money making business that I'm going to set up that's yours, son, you know, is just not something that goes through our minds unless we hear it from somebody else. So I'm grateful to you for bringing that kind of stuff up on the program today and phrasing it that way because people just don't connect the dots. I'm sitting here listening to you and I didn't connect that one,
Yeah.
and that's great.
It changes, right?
Yeah.
It gives men back their lives. It gives men back the ability to love their children without the significant sacrifice that life is going to put on you as a father. Life is hard for a father, for a man in general. Life is tough, right? And so this business has blown my mind and expanded my mind to how does this serve? That's why I said all my businesses have been service based. They help people. And it doesn't just help the consumer, it helps the man, the father. Because now, again, that father can be at every tryout, every baseball game. And this is something I set up for you 18 years ago. Forgot, I set it up 18 years ago, and now your college is paid for. What here's a checking account with $40,000. What college is shut off to you? None.
None. Yeah.
None. And
Yeah.
I didn't have to miss any of life happening to you. I can still be present.
It's a good way to
So,
go. Good way to go,
yeah,
man.
it's a
Wow.
great way to go. Yes, sir.
So, is there information on your website then to find out more about some of this stuff, or do they go to your podcast to find out more? Let's say someone's interested in this. You're like, man, how do I find out more about this? How do they contact Marcus Norman to find out, hey, how can I find out more about this?
Absolutely. The simplest way, and thank you again for the great question. The simplest way is www.gentlemanstylepodcast.com. That has all the links to my YouTube. The podcast is on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Facebook business page, YouTube, Ghana Radio, iHeartRadio. So Audible, it's on Audible. It's on Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. But
Hmm.
gentlemanstylepodcast.com is where all the links are. And that's where you can get all the links to me, and all the episodes, because I did interview the CEO of the cannabis vending machine. So if you want to learn more about how to get your own vending machine dispensary, check out my podcast,
Nice.
because I interviewed the CEO directly who started it.
Nice.
And so same thing with the ATM business. Gentlemanstylepodcast.com.
All right. I wanted to make sure I gave that to everybody just because I didn't want to let it go and forget about it. Okay. Because you've unpacked so much, man, and brought so much knowledge here and really put a different spin on things for people to, maybe think about something a little different tonight when they're done, listening to the podcast. But because we unpacked so much, I want to give you the floor for the last couple of minutes, that we're here. And I just want to say, is there anything I didn't ask you about? Any dots that we did not connect here, or maybe is there something that we did talk about and you want to just drive it home a little further, or even just one last sort of piece of advice, that you want to leave for everybody? The floor is yours for the last few minutes. Give me what you got.
I want to say this is a great podcast. You have a great show, and thank you for allowing me the platform and the space to share and to give back and continue that service that I mentioned in the beginning. Thank you for what you do. This is a great, great show. Everyone should subscribe and check you out. For our men out there who your back is against the wall and you're stressed out, and family issues, kids issues, life issues, you guys are going through a lot. But I want to say to you two things. One, anything you do, do the best you can and lead with love, no matter what it is. Lead with love always. And the second thing is, uh, the, the 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 quote I mentioned earlier. If you are unhappy or unsatisfied with any part of your life today, if you died today and what you feel people would write about you on your headstone is not what you want to be remembered for, change. You are not a tree. You're not stuck. Anything you want or unsatisfied with or anything you're unhappy with, you can change it today. You just have to believe you can and know that you can, because you, fathers, men, my men out there, you guys are so, so necessary. And the world is putting a tremendous amount of pressure on you, but you are needed and you are necessary. So don't give up. You can change it. You can change any circumstance, any part of your life you're not happy with, you don't like, you can do it. You can change it. So change it and be better.
Love it. Great way to wrap, man. Great way to wrap. I love that. And you even said believe it, which is how I usually close out. I love that. So I don't know if you knew that or not, but man, that was nice. Host of the podcast Gentleman Style Podcast, philanthropist extraordinaire with all of this information you dropped on us today, Marcus Norman. Thank you for coming on the show and just spreading hope to all of these guys that there is another way to go about doing this thing we call life. Thank you, man. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you, brother. It is my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, this has been another episode of the Power Man podcast. And the reason we bring these powerful men on like this today, with these powerful messages and challenge you in how you think and how you run your lives and how you come up with solutions for a better one, is because we are 100% in support of you and your mission to be a better protector, a better provider, a better leader tomorrow than you are today. Be a better man, a better husband, a better father tomorrow than you are today. And the reason that we want you to be all those things is because you have value. We've talked about that today. I talk about it in every episode. Folks, you're worth it. Your family's worth it. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.